Good morning, afternoon, evening, everybody. I am Gunnar Rios, and welcome to another episode of the Logical Gamers podcast. I'm joined tonight by the usual squad, Mr. Blanc Kong, Mr. Esoteric, and Mr. Hado Wolf. And today's episode is going to be a article reaction on the declining dystopian world that is the current landscape. And if you thought it couldn't get worse, you are incorrect because it is getting worse because now payment processors are getting involved. So, for those that don't know, there has been current discourse with payment processors, mainly Visa and Mastercard, which is kind of like the payment processors between the two, and their kind of exertion in regards to censorship of video games and certain storefronts placation to them, namely Nintendo and Steam, and now itch.io. So we're going to read off a Destructoid article that obviously, as always, will be linked to you in the description for your reading pleasure. And the title of the article is Gaming's Recent Run-ins with Payment Processors Set a Dangerous Precedent. So this is following Steam's purge of NSFW, or Not Safe for Work games, at the behest of payment processors Visa and MasterCard. Itch.io has also been targeted and forced to cull any and all Not Safe for Work labeled games from its platform. Though the games targeted could be argued against on moral grounds, it is no right of payment processors to police speech and force their own quote-unquote ethics. So this was before the itch.io situation. A few days ago, Steam was forced to pull the plug on a large number of NSFW games, primarily those containing certain darker and arguably immoral themes and scenes which I won't directly name. I'll name them. They were mostly incest, grape, and kind of slave domination in a sexual context. Those are the games that got cut. This came after payment processors, primarily Visa and MasterCard, did not wish to participate in providing the means to purchase such titles, all supposedly because a group called Collective Shout campaigned for precisely that. Now following Steam, itch.io, a popular platform for hosting indie and smaller games, is next on the chopping block. As written up by IGN, once again, the usual suspects are the ones pushing for these changes, with itch.io having no option but to comply. After all, if payments are frozen and suspended for the site, it could go under in no time. Money is the name of the game, and if you run out of it, or the means to acquire it, you're pretty much done for, which is exactly why Visa and MasterCard, and perhaps other payment processors, have an unfair position of power to force their own ethical standards upon others. And this is the author's opinion. While I do not necessarily like any of the games that were targeted, I do not believe they should be up in everyone's faces like they are on Steam's main page store. No company, big or small, should have such coercive powers to police what people buy, play, and do so long as it's lawful. What these payment processors are doing is nothing short of monopolized abuse of power, whereby they use their positions as financial service providers to enforce what they believe should be and should not be sold online. Lawful or not, this content must be removed lest the platform in question risk losing their sources of income. As games like the ones above could be just the start, it's a dangerous precedence to have any company possess the ability to force the removal of any type of content it deems fit. It is outright censorship and could at some point evolve into any content or game that the payment processors simply do not like. The group I had mentioned above, Collective Shout, has already campaigned against Detroit Become Human due to its dark and serious themes, which some might find offensive or even outrageous. It is now locked X account, or Twitter, the pandering and celebrating Visa and MasterCard's crackdown on NSFW content on Steam, and crowned the group as the chief actor who petitioned these payment processors into doing so. Tomorrow, any odd collective could be very much in line with political climate and petition or campaign for the same, only with different teams in mind. The point is that these companies have now proven they have the means to force even the biggest multi-billion-dollar platforms like Steam into compliance, and with great power comes great abuse, more often than not, with the precedent now set for perhaps the biggest wave of censorship in video game history. So that was a lot. I said a lot. Hopefully it all came through. I know sometimes my mic has a tendency to act up. Um, so basically the TLDR of that is this I guess advocacy group called Collective Shout, which is funny enough more right wing leaning. They have more Republican kind of donors, and they're doing it from a different perspective. They're doing it for think of the kids. So if you were old enough, if you're our age, you remember a time with games like Mortal Kombat, um, Call of Duty, Modern Warfare 2, specifically the No Russian mission, and a game like Night Trap. Parents got up in arms. They were like, "Oh my God, we can't have our kids playing these violent games," and that's how the the MSRB rating system in the United States was formed. It was formed because of that. So now we have a kind of new resurgence of that with the more right leaning puritanical side saying we can't have these adult pornographic games on our digital storefronts because these aren't on physical shelves because they're graphic, they're violent, they depict graphical sexual scenes, and we can't have that because, once again, think of the children. And the reason I brought this article up because we've talked about censorship a lot on this podcast in different forms when it comes to censoring outfits, censoring blood, censoring gore, and we've all shared our kind of opinions. Some of us care a certain amount, some of us don't care that much, blah blah blah. But the reason I brought this article for consideration of a topic tonight was because now this feels like a step forward. This is going past the developer and this is going to the payment processor. And I didn't really realize how much power Visa and Mastercard kind of had until I kind of see like where they are. They are a worldwide payment processor, which means this is not just North American games that could be affected. These are European, Japanese, Chinese. Basically, wherever Visa and Mastercard is accepted, they can exert an influence. So this is on a whole nother level than an angry mom saying, "I don't want my son to, kill sex workers in GTA because that's wrong." Like this is a step above. This is I will literally deny you the ability to make money or process money unless you remove these games from your storefront. And we've seen with a massive platform like Steam, they were quick to do that. So if you can like scare Steam into removing these games, which Steam is arguably the number one digital platform for PC, then obviously Sony, Microsoft, and Nintendo are they're just going to do it. They're not even going to question it. They're just going to do it. And like the article says, I might not like some of these games because some of these games that were removed are very, very tasteless in my opinion. They do have to do with incest. Some of these have to do with grape and, violating women. Like I would never play these games, but again, this is what this is what the rating system is for, and a 10-year-old should not be playing these games. They are meant for adults, and I think if you follow the rating system, that's all you need to do. But this is the current world in our dystopian future that we are currently living through. So I figured I'd just add this to the pile of censorship that we've talked about and just get you gentlemen's opinion. So I spoke a lot. I'm going to pass it off to anybody who wants to take it. Let me know what you feel about the article, this collective shout organization, because I could provide a little bit more information that the article really didn't. And yeah, what thoughts, questions, whatever, have at you.
So I guess I'll respond first. When I first read the article, the thing that stuck out to me most was the fact that credit card companies have this much power and influence. It makes sense when you think about it, and when I think about it, I'm surprised less. But I don't like it. I I don't I don't like it because because it can only get worse, right? Like, and let's say this goes through, and let's say they're successful in exiling these games, which I don't care about personally. I don't play those kinds of games, but I think the option to be able to play them should be available to you if you choose to, if you're an adult. Um, so it's only, I think if this goes through, it's only going to get worse, right? Then, what's next? Well, what's next is any kind of like anything that's deemed unflattering of female characters, right? Which is kind of already happening within the culture uh, with credit card companies or companies that hold a lot of power and influence over the marketplace. They can decide what they will be the ones to greenlight art. They will be the ones to censor whatever it is they see fit. They will be the ones who greenlight story, story beats and you know what characters. Like it's only gonna get progressively worse, and that's not a world that I want to live in because I've already seen how bad it's gotten, and with power struggle, it, it's only gonna get even worse. I mean, gaming is already ass right now in the modern day, and like, and so it can only go downhill from here, I think. And this is just one example of that. I do hear the other side though of like, well, these kinds of games shouldn't be accessible to underage players, and I agree. But banning them outright, I don't think is the right solution. I don't think that's fair to other people who do enjoy those kinds of games and the people who develop them, and make their living off of making adult only content. Like the same argument could be made about adult entertainment, if you know what I'm talking about. Like, should it exist? Probably not, right? I think it would be better for society if that just wasn't a thing. But I think Pandora's box is already open. It's already too available. It's already too exposed. Even if you were to ban it tomorrow, there's going to be a black market that's going to open up, and there'll be other ways to acquire it. So it's not going to actually stop anything. And I think the same could be said about this. These games will just be harder to get. Now they have to be games that you have to get locally, or you have to go to a particular website to acquire, or you have to whatever, right? So it's not going to actually stop anything. It'll mitigate some of what you're saying, where children and underage gamers will get access to that content. But um, I think it's just giving the powerful more power, and I'm always against that because they're only gonna water down the, only gonna make decisions that eventually affect me. Where games that have come out that are deemed too violent or have the wrong kind of politics or whatever, oh well, that's a little problematic. I don't want that to be supported on this platform. I don't want to deal with that. So I hope they're unsuccessful, and I think it's up to Steam and other platforms to figure out how to just create barriers so that younger players don't get access to content that they shouldn't be accessing, but banning it outright because of the whim of some executive at Mastercard is just like that's crazy to me, you know. So anyway, that's my thoughts. That's my initial thoughts. I'd like to hear what you guys have to think or have to say.
Okay, I guess I'll chime in next. This is nothing more than a classic case of, you know, too many chefs in the kitchen and they need to get the hell out. I don't know why entities like MasterCard and Visa has any say in what's being developed when it comes to games, or what should be a stipulation and what shouldn't be. I don't understand. This is way beyond their wheelhouse. All their job should be, honestly, is to collect money and get the hell out of these places that are providing them this money. Um, Now, I am among, you guys as well. Like, I personally don't play these types of games, but thinking objectively, they should be accessible to anyone that is an adult, anyone who is of age to that would want to play these things. And from what I've seen with particularly Steam, they have set parameters in place for like certain games where they set disclaimers like this is 18, you got to be age appropriate to play this, do you wish to continue, so on and so forth. There's so many different barriers that they can put in place for children to to deter children from playing these games. At that point, it's up to the parents or whoever are their guardians to kind of regulate the activity that's happening on the computer or the Steam Deck and so on and so forth, whatever platform they're utilizing to access the content. Um, you know, back when we were growing up, the whole thing with Mortal Kombat, completely understandable. It was something that was being introduced for the first time. There wasn't really blood being shown in games at that point, so I can understand the dismay or like the alertness of, okay, we need to set something in place so that children don't have access to it. But now, this is just, you know, people with power circle jerking each other, trying to find ways to figure out what can I do to exert this power. Like who else can I bother and to kind of like strong arm them into, um, conforming to our way of thinking. And I don't like that because it's a can of worms. It's a slippery slope. The first thing that they're gonna start with is the whole nudity and yeah, the distasteful storylines and things like that of like the whole incest and graping. But then it's gonna funnel down into violence. Then it's gonna funnel down into like perspectives of certain characters and backstories and things like that. Like, how far are they going to kind of like cement themselves into gaming? And it's not just that, right? Because if you're mitigating certain things to this extent, you're mitigating certain companies from creating certain things that their fan base might like. You're mitigating the creativity of the artist who wants to create certain things, whether it's a busty, female character or like a buff man. You're mitigating them from establishing or pushing their creative juices. Like, how far is the rabbit hole gonna go before people are able to not even before people are able to, people are unable to do certain things, it's really disheartening because we've seen what happened, especially during this time where certain things or certain entities have an influence on certain aspects of games, and it is now kind of like showing, not to this magnitude, but you're seeing it kind of like creep. The whole thing with Spider-Man, with Mary Jane. They did not have to change her character, but they decided to. The whole thing with Stella Blade, with the kind of settling down the blood a tad bit or whatever. Like, how far are we gonna go before these things become completely omitted from games? Like, will games even become as enjoyable as they were? I mean, some may argue that in this day and age they're not as enjoyable because of all these things that's being implemented or all these things that are being taken away. But I pretty much say that to say this is a really bad idea. I don't know if it's going to be, if it was to come into play, how effective it would be for gamers around to rally up and say, no, we're not spending any money in this market anymore. I highly doubt that because we have a lot of people within the hobby that are susceptible to anything. You just give them whatever and they'll just take it. So it's going to become become a problem if this becomes successful. I'm really hoping not, because it does kind of step on our rights, and also the people who are creating these games rights to being able to do what they want with their games and put them out there. But yeah, if this becomes something, it's going to be a severe problem, and it's going to only trickle down to, as I think Gunnar alluded to, it's going to trickle down into the consoles as well. And then it might even go as far as to, I would say, maybe other forms of media. Maybe they might have people omit certain topics within books. Maybe in movies, if it's not already being done, they might omit certain aspects of movies where it's like, oh, you can't do this. You can't do certain things in that regard. I think and whoever's watching this can fact check me on this. I think in games already, you can't have anything showing the unaliving of babies. Like you can't have that at all. I could be wrong. Again, I want you guys to fact check me, or the viewers as well. But from what I recall, that's something that I read, and I'm like, you know, although I understand how that might be a little like, um, distasteful or disgusting to people that wouldn't want to see something like that. But again, in that same vein, you're stifling the creator's way of thinking and wanting to execute certain aspects of their game, whether it's horror or suspense and so on and so forth. So, TLDR, I don't agree with it. I kind of align with the uh, the author, who's basically saying that this is a bad idea, and they need to find another way to kind of circumvent whatever this they're trying to do. Visa and Mastercard needs to stay out of this, or whatever entities that's causing trouble within the Steam realm.
So, because I work in banking for so long, the education was there in understanding that Visa and MasterCard pretty much controls debit cards and credit cards transactions. Like, if you guys didn't know, every single transaction you're doing is monitored by them, and they can choose to lock your card if they choose to. Typically, they'll only use that power for fraudulent transactions, and they can't reach out to you. Um, so if you guys have, ABC Bank, and you swipe your card and you realize that it didn't work, so you call your bank and they're like, "Oh, you got a fraud alert." That wasn't from ABC Bank. That was from Visa, Mastercard. Visa, Mastercard can even decide whether you have a debit card. They can even decide if they want to even give your debit card information to a merchant who requests it from them. Um, so obviously that there's very serious limitations to that, of course, but they do have that power. So I knew this. I just never thought they would use that power to try to control the gaming space. That's just so weird, in my personal opinion. It's extremely weird to do something like that. But yeah, I knew that they could do this. I just didn't think they would do this. And at the same time, are they going to do something about those various websites that children of all ages or people of all ages are susceptible to? You
Very
know,
good point.
like is it just some kind of like tactic to attack one particular space? Like if you're gonna attack one, attack all. That's how I look at it. And I don't like, even if they say, okay, well, we're gonna monitor the type of, I guess, video games that you play, which just sounds so silly. Um, the negative video games that you play and whatever. I just feel like then you need to hold everything and everyone accountable to it, right? That would make more sense, in my opinion. But regardless of it, it does. I feel like my natural rights as a person is being violated. Um, but at the same time, I also know that this is something that is very possible for them to do. It is within their power to do it. It's within their power, not within their rights. Or it's not right to, but it's within their power to. And to be honest, like I said again, they control transactions in general. They control the debit card in general. So now, how would that work? If I use my debit card on a particular website that is not necessarily friendly for the eyes, that is it gonna is it gonna shut my card down? Like, how far do they intend to go with it? So it for me, it's like, Yeah, your cause is noble, but at the end of the day, you have to leave people to be people. You have to leave the audience of said content to be able to monitor it correctly or control it correctly or protect their children from it correctly. Like, why are we becoming financial police? Like, just it is what it is. And to be honest, kids are going to dig it up. If a child is curious enough, they are going to dig it up. Point blank, period. There's no if, ands, or buts about it. My son over the weekend, he took 3 hours to himself to research everything he could research about 9/11. I mean, if
Mm.
his curiosity went that far to sit down for 3 hours to find as much information as he can about 9/11, if he decides to find you know, a website or a thing or whatever to that's going to say, okay, well, this is, inappropriate content for a kid, it really, at some point, it really, no matter what I do as a parent, I can't block him from it because of how the internet works. It's my responsibility to make sure that he's not in getting himself into anything like that. I don't think Mastercard or Visa should be stepping in, but I do know that they have the ability to shut Kong's debit card down if they wanted to. If they just simply wanted to, they can shut it down, and there's nothing that ABC Bank can do
I
about
mean,
it.
not to make it political or anything, or to name, controversial names, but that's what happened to the political commentator Nick Fuentes, right? He got shut down. He got completely shut out. He he said the wrong thing. He has controversial opinions, and they were like, he's like banned from flying. He's banned from having bank accounts. He's banned on a whole different a bunch of different fronts. And
That's wild.
I'm
Mhm.
not saying I agree with what he's saying or anything like that. I don't have a side to take here. I didn't do enough information on the guy to
Mhm.
know to have a definitive stance. But what I do know is that he's been completely shut out from modern day society. At least he
Mhm.
was for a long time, and that's a crazy thought. So I know that exists, that power exists. Of course, every corporation is ran by people. People are flawed. People have bias. So they're
Mhm.
gonna
Yeah.
use their power to see to create the change that they want to see, whether it's good or bad. That's up to you, but they can
Yeah.
do it, right? And so I'm not surprised. I just don't want them. This is like another step of like more power, and we're just gonna end up in a monarchy. I mean, the world's already controlled by a small amount of people. Just let me keep the illusion that like my video games, I have choice. You know what I mean? Like I know I really don't have choice, but like I don't want to get too black pill here, but like just
Yeah.
just leave my stuff alone. Like let me. This is like the one thing I have. But anyway,
Yeah, and then also to add to this, this is another apprehension towards digital media. You know, this is they would not be able to do this if the media that is being absorbed was physical. If Steam was a physical service, if it was like if Steam was a store, right, or a franchise of different stores that basically sold physical copies of whatever their like art items are on their platform, then how would they be able to mitigate that? They wouldn't be able to tell the difference.
So just quick to add to what you said real quick,
Mm-hmm.
just for the because the article doesn't state this, but this is going on with the website itch.io. So for those that don't know what itch.io is, it's a small platform where basically people can put really indie games. These are like things made in like RPG Maker or Flash, right? These are like real indie.
Okay.
Um the not safe for work games, the adult games, not only no longer exist on the site, but they were removed from people's libraries.
So that means that you wasted your money if you bought them.
Yes, I haven't heard anything about getting refunds or any credit towards anything else. And people have been reporting that the game is just gone. It was there one day and it is now poof, gone. So that's just tying into your point about digital being like, well, what do you mean? Big Mommy Simulator 5. That never existed. It's not in your library. It never existed.
Yeah,
So that's
yeah,
just to add to what you were saying.
yeah. You know, the digital media is the segue to the other side having full control. It just so happens that there's another big fish behind them that's controlling them or attempting to control them. You know, and it's like the long uh, terms of service and you know agreements that we never read because we just want to get to playing our games. You know, we want to get to booting up and updating our systems. I'm pretty sure there's some stipulations there that states like, well, we if you buy any digital content from us, we have the right to remove it. You can't ask for your refund and you can't ask why. Or some shit along those lines, you know, because and again, I fall victim to into it as well. Like I'm not one of the people that are reading the entire TLA agreement or whatever, or terms of service in utilizing my consoles because I do want to get to the game. But now after this, it's like, yeah, maybe I may have to take some time before purchasing a new console, which would probably be a long while from now, or if I decide to, depending upon the trajectory of where my hobby is going. Um, I would probably have to take the time to read. And depending upon what it states, I'm probably going to be inclined to returning the console. Or at least getting some of my money back because you can't return it once you open it and get a full refund. So it's just really alarming because it's like, again, if you're going to do that to the games, I feel like the gaming sphere is they're testing it out here first before they try to expand their influence into other medias. It's like I think once it's the game, then it's probably going to be music. Like, oh well, you can't put any unrated versions here because if you do, we're not going to allow you to charge people for it or something like that. So places like iTunes or any of those other digital media music stores, they're gonna get it next, and then it's gonna travel over to like Netflix and those other movie entities and whatnot. Like it's gonna be, if they're able to become fully successful, it's going to be super widespread. Like there's already some movies that I watched on Netflix where they changed like certain scenes that I grew up with. It's like that didn't happen like that. Like you know that's not what
Or
happened.
or trigger warnings for movies like Rush Hour.
Why do you have trigger warnings for Rush Hour? Like just uh,
So
I seen that and I was
Because of
like,
what he says about Jackie Chan and Jackie Chan's culture and whatnot.
no,
Stuff.
I
The
know that.
jokes he makes. Yeah.
No, I know that, but it was more like a rhetorical question. Like I don't think that's
Oh, it's
me.
rhetorical. My
Yeah,
bad.
yeah. You know, because I did see it and I was like, they didn't even. I went to the movies to see this and they did not. You know, even though I was incredibly young, I don't remember what age I was. But fun fact, I recall things from the past more than I do the present. It's weird. My long term memory is better than my short term. But anyways, I did not see any of that shit there before, and it's like, why why do we need it now? It's like, are we became that soft of a people where it's like, where we're very hurt by this the things that are being said or like the jokes.
Yes, we have. We have. And that's that. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I'm sorry if I offend anyone who may be listening to this. We have. We've become a society of people
I'm
who just,
offended.
right. We've become a
stay
society of
mad.
people who just feel like things should always be, I guess, I guess nice. I don't even know how to explain it, but we don't know. One, we became a society of people who don't know how to take jokes, or take comedic content,
Yeah.
regardless of the person saying it. We
Mm-hmm.
became the kind of society where if you're not sensitive to one person's or another person's situation, then you should be blacklisted or you should be banned or you should be like, I don't know what kind of whatever society this is, trying to police bully or what you think is or what you want to define as bullying or being mean or like all of that is not, it's not conducive to society in general, in my personal opinion.
So
In my person
here's my question, Wolf, about that. have we become this society, or have we always been this society? It's just that we have platforms where people can pretty much express their grievances, which when they come together, it becomes this
I
whole.
think I personally think it got worse. I think it
Okay.
was always there.
Okay.
It was always there, but I think it got worse. It got worse in the sense of where it's like now with the explosion of the internet, now with the explosion of, people being able or wanting to be able to voice their opinions, um, they are now it's like in a state where it's, oh, these people are more than we thought they were, which really isn't. Um, but politically speaking, politics do run the country, unfortunately, and no one wants to look like a bad guy. No one wants to look um, like there's some type of villain or something. And it's not a villain if you have a particular belief, or if you just don't want to follow certain things or anything like that. To me personally, I don't think you're a bad guy. You are who you are. You like what you like. Period. If you want to play a game that's about, I don't know, graping somebody, it's it's your choice as a human being to want to play that game. Now, me personally, I agree with Gunner. It's distasteful. It is. But I'm not gonna sit here and be like, oh, this person is trash because they play these types of games. No, they could be the coolest person in the world. They just want to play those games. Period. Like that's how I look at it. But um wanting to step in and control the player base, or threaten these companies that they're going to lose money if they don't remove these games. These games are not harming anyone. They're really not. They aren't. I think the actual industry with actual people is harming society, but yet it's blown over.
Yeah. Like I want to see them have this much energy for OnlyFans or
Right.
this much energy for the hub.
Right.
But
For
it's just
those who
like,
are actually willing to put the money and, pay for subscriptions and whatnot.
yeah, because those are real people. Now, again, they're not supposed to have graphical depictions of, you know, familial relationships and grape, but these are real sex acts that these men and women are performing on these sites. Whereas this is a digital video game, and we've proven Call of Duty, Grand Theft Auto, Manhunt. You can have these violent images in a game, and for the most part, if you're a grounded individual, it's not going to make you want to do it. I never wanted to harm women just because I ran over people and ran over sex workers in GTA. I never wanted to shoot up an airport because I played that mission in Call of Duty. Like, I didn't want to do that because I knew this was a video game. This is fictional. It's not real. And because of my family and friends, I knew this society does not smile on this type of behavior. This is not good to do, but it's a video game. These are pixels getting shot, not a real person. But it is kind of political now because video games seem to be kind of the punching bag of
Hmm.
the 2020s,
Always
where you
have
have,
been. Always.
yeah,
Always
where
have
you
been.
have one side where it's like, oh, we can't objectify women, so that's why you can't show a bit of cleavage. And now we have another side with collective shout going, oh, well, think of the kids. You can't have these games because Timmy's gonna see it and he's gonna want to do these things to women. So it's just two sides of the same shit coin, and it just poor video games are caught in the middle, just getting slapped around on either side. It's like, oh my god, like, what is it? Are we gonna get the stick figure games? And even that's gonna be too far. Like, oh, your stick figure is looking a little too dark. What does that mean? It's like, oh, I don't know. It's a fucking stick figure. But
Yeah. It's just funny. It's just really funny. Like it's gaming is just the low hanging fruit. Honestly, unfortunately, it's just the low hanging fruit because every form of media has done something pertaining to grape, something pertaining to incest. I mean, like Game of Thrones was really big, and everybody was doing each other, and
that's another good point
they were
too.
all related, and nobody batted a goddamn eyelash at it. You know what I'm saying? Then you have the rap, which I I'm an enthusiast with like old school rap and things like that. There are some good rap out here, whatever, too, in this day and age as well. But there's a lot of story arcs in rap where they're talking about robbing and unaliving people and graping and all this shit. And it's like,
Mm-hmm.
there's nobody's batting an eyelash with that. But the moment someone holds a controller and they're pretty much
Mm-hmm.
simulating the shit, it's a big problem. Like, I don't understand. It's like y'all complained about it in the past. First, games isn't lucrative. Game is Then y'all figured out that it was. Then it's like it rose to whatever it was, and then from there it's, oh, we gotta take away this. We gotta take away that. We've already proven that games actually make children. The games that they play actually make children's cognitive thinking increase. It does not hinder them in any way, shape, or form. You know, like all the sciences that was supposed to debunk certain things about gaming has proved them wrong. Now it's just another avenue to kind of like shit on gaming again, and it's like, just leave the hobby alone. Just leave it alone. Like, are you going after what's next? You're gonna go after stores that are like sex shops and shit like that? No, you're not. Like, I don't. It's just I don't understand the constant badgering of games. Like, I don't get it.
It's an easy target. That's why.
Yeah, I get that, but it's like, it's making you money. What are you complaining about? Like, all you guys really care about is the money. Like, these things are
Well,
making you money.
But
as
remember,
far as
Visa is not suffering from this at all.
right,
That's
yeah,
true. It's
yeah.
it's kind of minute compared to like the other things, because I mean it's a worldwide business. Like, everything, whether you're shopping in Japan or you're here, like Visa and Mastercard. I go to PlayAsia right now, and they ask me for my
And
Visa or
remember,
Mastercard.
they're contracted by probably the most lucrative business period, which is financial institutions. So
True.
they're not worried about this. Period. This doesn't affect them whether they allow it or whether they don't allow it. It doesn't affect them in any way. It's like Kong said, it's to save face, and it's to um they want to look like the good guys. They want to look like the heroes.
Yep.
So
Why the
it's
fuck do
it's
you need to be considered a good guy when your whole brand has nothing to do with anything moral? All you do is fucking collect money. Why do?
Rich. Okay, but the same reason that we play video games for entertainment, people like this do this.
All right, then do some fucking what's that show we was watching? Squid Games or something. Find something else to do. Like,
Oh, I'm sure it exists. If
come
you get
on, man.
if you get the fucking little fucking card with the number on it,
Watch
you know,
out for Korean man slapping you. If you see him,
yeah.
it ain't worth it.
Well,
You
I'm
see
only
people
joking.
playing dachi in the middle of the street.
Yeah, like I'm joking about like that. I don't want to go to that extent, but like, you have UFC, you have boxing, you have sports. Like, oh, you just woke up one morning, it's like, incest in games. Let's get rid of that. Like, what the fuck, man? Just leave us alone. Jesus Christ. And again, this is the same issue that I have, because it segues back into the whole digital shit. If digital wasn't so in abundance, if it wasn't, if people weren't pushing for digital, they wouldn't have as much control. They'll be able to kind of mitigate in some aspects. Like, they'll probably say things like, okay, GameStop, we need your barcodes to determine what you're selling to them, but they'll find ways to do it, in another way. But like now, because everything is so goddamn digital and people are lazy, they don't want to walk down the goddamn block to pick up a game. Now it's like, with digital comes more control, and you're shit out of luck now.
Like, I think that unfortunately, digital is where those games can only exist on, because you're not gonna see, I Love My Mom, the video game. Like, you're not gonna see that. Like, no store would ever carry it. Maybe, like you said, adult shops would carry a game like that, but those things are a dying breed also because of digital adult media consumption. So they're
Yeah.
not even like they were. So I think, unfortunately, those type of games are just they have to exist on a particular plane of existence, which is digital, and because of it, they are even more susceptible than a game like Stellar Blade. I can have Stellar Blade on disc. I never have to update it,
True.
and I won't get the censored outfits, and the blood, I believe. No, I will lose out on that, but I won't get the censored outfits.
which
If I
is,
want to,
hmm
these smut games, like they only exist digital because no store will ever carry them.
which is true. And then I understand digital to some degree because of in business wise, from a business perspective, for these indie titles that don't have the money to do distribution. I get that 100%. But the thing is, the thing about physical, man, it's like, to your point, Gunna, about having those shops, they could have had the games in there, right? And it was the easiest barrier, because back in the days when kids used to walk in those type of stores, they used to be turned right back around. Like, that was the easiest gatekeeping ever,
Yeah,
you know?
the guy working the counter is like, I'm not getting fired, or the owner, I'm not getting my business closed. Get the fuck out. Come back when you're 18.
Yep, exactly. But digital became a thing, and now these kids could sit there on their phones, on their iPads, on all these types of electronics, and be able to access all that stuff. It's this is the world we live
Truly,
in.
truly dark times. But
Indeed.
so what are we looking like? We got time for some more discussion, or?
Oh yeah, absolutely. We got about 15 minutes, 14 and counting. So
All right. Well, I mean, I kind of said everything I needed to say. This is just another example of more censorship. Again, the reason I wanted to bring this up is because we have Wolf, who works at a financial institution, so he can attest to that side of it. Is also a parent, so understands, not wanting his kids to experience these type of games, but is nuanced in like, well, these are for adults. They're clearly meant for adults. These are not games meant for kids. And I just wanted to bring up this as a new form. This is like censorship on steroids, because it's
mhm.
not just a development studio with a particular view on how women should look. This is payment processor. You are now involving money, and
Yep.
Steam likes its money, and they're not gonna do anything to get shut down by Visa or Mastercard, because if you get blocked by them, the Kong brought up Nick Fuentes. Imagine Steam going, we cannot process any payments anymore because Visa and Mastercard have blocked us.
Which you
Crypto
wouldn't even,
bros,
yeah, it would be really hard to find something else,
yeah, I mean,
especially for the average person.
yeah, because the average
Yeah.
like I've
Yeah.
heard the argument of crypto is going to see a big increase. While crypto is a thing and it does bypass stuff like Visa and Mastercard, you think the average Joe is going to know what
Yeah.
like crypto is or how to manipulate it?
Yeah. They don't have
Like
the
Right.
if
aptitude for that. They don't.
if you see how many crypto scams are running amok on the digital landscape right now, someone like my parents, our parents, they're not going to crypto. They, no, they just know the bank is good because it keeps my money safe. And when I use a credit card, it's linked to a banking system in some way. Crypto's too much.
Yeah,
But
but not even.
crypto,
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Gunna. Sorry for
no, I
cutting
was
you
like
off.
crypto might be in regards to these adult games. Crypto might be the path they have to take because it's decentralized, and until something controls crypto, which is possible, that's how you got to do it. You want your smut game? Give me some bitcoins.
Yeah, and then also what I would like to add is that money is everyone's livelihood. If you don't have it, you're going to have a hard time essentially living. Not to mention, you need one of these entities to front you, Visa and Mastercard, because Visa and Mastercard, since they own your cards, it's tied to your cards are tied to big purchases. So what I mean by that is, like, if you want to stay somewhere far away and you want to go into a hotel, you can't use cash. You have to utilize a card. A card has to be on file. You know, if you want to, like, own a house, if you want to own a car, you have to have a credit score. And your credit is tied to those cards and other forms of credit. So it's like, if Visa and Mastercard chose to mess with you, your livelihood is done. Like, it's finished. Um, and I can understand from Steam's perspective, if they're willing to bend a knee, because Steam is an entity full of people where, you know, the execs make money, but also they have other people that also runs the ship that needs to get paid as well. And with those others people are families that they have to take care of, and also finances that are required in order to take care of those families. So it's just like stopping the gears on a clock. If you stop one gear, the entire clock stops spinning. It's not going to function properly. So, you know, it's really sad, but the optimist in me is like, well, I don't want this to happen. Hopefully it doesn't happen. The realist in me is that because they hold all the cards, they're gonna have to bend the knee. And unfortunately, for now, it's going to be, you know, people who play these games. Although I don't play them myself. Again, I don't play them myself, but they should have the right to. This power is going to trickle down into games that I would actually want to play. So maybe the next God of War isn't going to have any gore, you know? Maybe the next Resident Evil, I don't know how they're going to pull that off. There ain't going to be no decapitations. So you can't shoot zombies in the head anymore in order to subdue them. You know, it's just, the world is your oyster when you got power. So Joe Smo woke up one day and was like, not safe for work. Yeah, we need to get rid of that on Steam. And unfortunately, it looks like that's going to be what may happen.
Yep. I mean, the only way to hopefully prevent it is enough noise to make them back off for now, or good old government intervention. And, you know, the government can do no wrong and always looks out for you. So
Sure they
we
do.
can rely on them to make things right.
Sure. Sure. Not going to hold my breath with that one, but...
No, I wouldn't. You wouldn't make it. All right. So on that lighthearted, fun note, this has been a fun episode overall. Does anybody have any final closing thoughts, comments, concerns?
Not really.
All right. Cool. So everybody said what they said. Yeah, this is what's going on. This is kind of an ongoing situation. Itch.io is the latest victim of it. I think it's safe to assume that Sony, Microsoft, and Nintendo would follow in lockstep. So if you see announcements about them, do not be surprised. Like I said, I think the only real course of action is maybe to alert your local governments that you are not a fan of this, or just make a lot of internet noise. That's typically what pushes these companies back is if they see a lot of hoopla, they don't like the heat, so they back off. Is it a permanent? Usually not, but this is the world we live in, and you have to kind of work with what you got. So, anyway, that's going to be our episode for tonight. Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you enjoyed what we had to say. Kind of a downer one, but, you know, I figured this would be an interesting topic. It's a topic that is relevant to all of us, and it's something that should get out. And if we have anybody that listens, no matter how small, and if you learn something from this, then it was worth it. So, once again, thank you all for watching. Thank you for listening. Thank you, gentlemen, for joining me on another episode. If you like what you saw, if you like what you heard, make sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe. We really appreciate it. We're always looking for new listeners, so if you like what you see, hit the buttons that you need to hit. Your social media user, we got those. Make sure you hit those. If that's your thing. Mr. Esoteric is the resident streamer of our group. He streams on the Logical Gamers channel. He usually streams every Monday, Friday, 9 p.m. Eastern. Obviously, all of that is subject to change. Sometimes the start times change. Sometimes he adds impromptu streams over the weekend or during the week. You know, whatever he's feeling. He's a variety streamer. Streams a little bit of everything from AAA to old school GBA. So, you'll never know what he's streaming. So make sure you tune in to find out. He'll probably stream something you like. That's about it. So once again, thank you all. Thank you for joining me tonight. And I will see you all in the next episode.